close to 6 as we can. But I'm Claire, I'm the editor at The Northerner, and we're hosting this lovely debate for our SGA candidates. As you know, the elections start Wednesday and they go until Thursday, so make sure you get out and vote after knowing what everyone can offer you. The way this is going to work, we're going to give each candidate team 3 minutes for an opening statement, and then we're going to ask 4 questions of them each, and they each get 2 minutes to answer it, and then a 30-second rebuttal if anybody would like to take one. Then if there's time, we'll take some questions from the audience, so listen to their answers, think of some good questions, and then at the end, we'll give them each 3 minutes for a closing statement. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Go ahead. Okay. John Jose, the first question is for you. What is your largest motivation for running for 2013 SGA president?
Opening statements.
Opening statements. Awkward.
That's perfectly fine. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone after with that question because that's our business. First of all, good afternoon. Thank you for coming out to this wonderful debate. This is the most I've ever seen it, being in 3 years in student government. We would really like to thank the Northerner for hosting this informational debate for all of us to find out the answers. I want to start off with a quote. Dreamers elevate, motivate, and inspire. They cause us to persevere under difficult circumstances, and they create a focus in our lives. Dreams matter for students, for the university, and for our community. We are running for this election because of our dream and passion to serve the students to the best of our abilities. This intention to serve is a motivation that gets us throughout this whole campaign. Over the course of this debate, you will be informed about our platform and ideas that we stand for. I encourage the audience to ask questions, spark discussions, and state your ideas. Because at the end of the day, we are your candidates, and you have 1 vote. So give it to the one who deserves it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Clayton Castle. I've been in student government for 2 years. I've written a couple resolutions, so I have experience with the Senate and with student government. John and I are here because this is our dream and our passion. We are not here to make promises that we can't keep. We are here because we're here to work for you, the students. We are running on the motto of keeping students first, and we will try our best, if elected, to keep to that motto.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming out and becoming an engaged and enlightened student. Likewise, thank you to the Northerner for hosting this annual debate. I'm going to be honest, I'm really excited about this. I have so much fun at this event because it's the one opportunity that you have to see candidates be honest, right? No, but you have a bunch of students here that are actually engaged. We have 3 candidates that are probably the most engaged, I would venture to say the most engaged that we've really ever had in a student government election, and this is probably going to be one of the more intense ones. On a brighter note, this has not been a smear campaign in any way, shape, or form. I think everybody up here is pretty good friends. But as far as running for SGA president for next year, I don't think our job is done yet. And that job being my job and David's job next year. A lot of the goals and initiatives that we planned out last year, we've gone for the implementation of. And through processes of working with faculty and staff and other bodies on campus, you continue pushing those initiatives to see if you can get them done. We've had a lot of great things done this year. The syllabus bank, we just had that presented at our meeting today. You all are obviously going to be using that next week, as I've told you all at most of your meetings, among other things.
Hi, I'm David. For those of you who may or may not know me, but at this point you probably know everybody. But thank you all so much for coming out today. Thank you all for your continual support this past month. It's been crazy, not only this, but the weather and everything else. Thank God it's snowing. It's the first time ever I'm going to say that because it means none of us have to shock, and nobody likes to shock. But thank you again for all your support. We definitely need it in the next 3 days, and yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to reiterate the part about the chalking. Those of you who have not done chalking, it has to be the worst thing in the world. I mean, the last little bit of that chalk, fingers can start bleeding, and it's just a horrible experience. So this is the first time I've been thankful to have snow after spring break in my life. So I've been really happy. Those of you all do not know me, I think we've all met just like they said. My name is Chaz Edwards, and this is...
I'm Abby Gross. I'm running for vice president.
And we decided to run together as a team just a few weeks ago when we saw that there was a problem with SGA. We didn't like the direction that it was going. We saw that the leadership was complacent. We just didn't think that it was serving the purpose that it was. See, right now it's directed towards in our opinion, that it's concentrating on endorsing things the university's already started, be it campus beautification. Everyone wants to have a D1 university to be able to have NKU Norse logos everywhere, which is great, and I want that. But if the university's already spent time and effort and money to be able to get that, why does SGA need to continue to work on that? Why do we need to keep spending the little bit of time that each one of us has? It's so valuable to us as students, working on the same things people have already started.
Okay, so now the questions will start. John, the first question is for you. What are your views on the new campus rec center, how the construction process will play out, and the fee that has been added to charge all students?
We just actually got presented that in our meeting today, which was really awesome. We got to see the model of what the rec center is going to look like, and you guys will all like that, honestly. It's worth the money, it's worth the space, it's worth everything that we've worked hard on. The campus rec center resolution came out when I was a freshman under Michelle Filenza's committee, and we've been working hard ever since that. I've been involved in the campus rec committee for students and community members, so I've known a lot about what's going on there. The campus rec fee was something that's pretty stable, and a lot of people did not agree with that because a lot of people were saying, well, we're not going to use it when it's done. Dean Waple just gave us a statement today about they're going to try to do a package where as soon as it opens up, that people that paid money back before it was still being constructed will get a discounted rate so that they can come in and use the facilities as well, which is a great incentive for saying thank you for those people that have done their part.
Okay, thank you. Eric Peterson, the next question is for you.
Does anyone want to add a rebuttal? Anything to add? Anything that's good?
I would like to say, going off that, yes, we had the presentation today, and we're all very excited for it to be implemented. Something that I think that Chaz and I could do if we're elected is better improve communication with the students through use of social media and PR. Something that a lot of students didn't know was what the fee was for when it first came out, and I know it was a big issue, and that's something that I think needs to be improved in future SGAs.
My rebuttal for that. As far as fees go, this was the first year that the Bursar decided to make all of their fees transparent. They actually did that back in the fall, and that's why there was so much pushback on the fee initially. In fact, most students really didn't have much of an issue paying for it until the students that came forward and said that they didn't really have much of an interest using it, basically disagreed with it.
And to add a little bit more onto the new rec center, it is scheduled to be completed this December 2015. It's going to cost about $34 million, which sounds like a lot, but there's going to be there's going to be like over 200 different workout machines. There's actually even going to be a running machine with a big screen where it looks like you're running into the Alps, which sounds pretty cool. So you're running through the Alps machine. Who doesn't want that? There's going to be a big 30-person hot tub with a humongous 80-foot widescreen TV where you can watch like big games and stuff on too. So there's a lot of cool things that are coming with this rec center. And the fee that we've been paying for when you do graduate from college, you will have a reduced fee for if you wanted to be able to use a facility. So that way, when you graduate, you'll have facilities to your use, but at a cheaper price since you've been paying past fees for the past few years. Since it won't be finished in 2015, most of us in this room will probably be graduated. So there's a lot of cool things that come with that center. So good stuff.
Peterson, the next question is for you. How will you make SGA more accessible to a person who doesn't know what SGA is?
The big thing about SGA and really any group or organization is rallying around a cause, and that specifically relates to branding and effective public relations. I think the status quo, as it currently stands, is taking care of that in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of good things are happening inside of SGA, and you just have to keep pushing those things. But better yet, you have to find avenues to reach out to those students that don't know what's going on. We started doing things like reaching out to the VP of Student Affairs, trying to get NKU student all emails sent out so that you would know more about specific processes that were taking place on campus, among other things. I would wager to say that the PR this year in SGA has set a precedent for the future, and I hope that it only gets better from here.
Does anyone have a rebuttal for that?
We do. There's one idea that Abby and myself came up with was senator outreach. I know SGA has spoken several times about having senators go out with name badges on and talking to students within the student union or other buildings around campus. We thought we'd take that one step further, and with each senator would be assigned X amount of student organizations that they were responsible of, to where they would reach out to them individually to be able to contact them, figure out what their concerns are specifically, and be able to take that back and work with SGA on that, along with taking some of the social events that they have, because we figured out since contacting other student organizations that there's a major communication problem between all organizations, not just SGA and students. And we thought we could be that liaison organization, collecting what type of information they have going on through different events, and be able to take it back and be able to create an SGA social event master calendar, essentially.
The thing about that is our plan, when elected, is to be more publicized to the student body. I think that the office of the president has to be more public to the organizations that he campaigns for during the campaign season. I've talked to a bunch of organizations that I went to that says, oh, you only guys come up here when it's election season. And I think that's something that needs to be changed. When elected, one thing that I first want to do is to make sure that I have a listening tour, kind of like what President Merns did to all of its constituents. I think that we need to visit a bunch of student organizations and ask them for what their suggestions are for the coming year. When that happens, it'll be a smoother transition when we have during Kentucky Leadership Academy, where we set our goals for the next year. For the past 2 years being on the board, we've gone to the retreat thinking about our personal goals or what we think is right. I think that that should change, and I think that we need to have a listening tour for all the organizations, or at least most of them we can try to reach, and develop a plan from there.
Thank you.
A little bit off of that. We are already starting to open up our doors, in a sense, for lack of a better term, to get your all's opinions. I'm starting next April 3rd, a resolution that actually Patrick Reagan here, sitting in the front row, actually passed a resolution last semester to get town halls. And what basically those things are open sessions for any student, any across this campus can come, voice their concerns, voice whatever issues they have, so that we, the student body of, or the student government body, will know exactly what your concerns are. So we're already starting, trying to hear your all's concerns. We're already starting movements and town halls and different things like that to try and hit home all the different issues and stuff that you want to see reckoned with. And yeah.
Thank you. Taz Edwards, the next question is for you. How do you define the average student?
In KU, that's very unique. The average student in KU is not similar to any other university in Kentucky. We are definitely a changing demographic. We have traditionally just been solely commuter students, but over the last few years, we've more and more students have moved on campus, along with living in Meadowview and Hampton Farms. We are starting to grow more internationally. International students are starting to grow in that demographic also. That's one idea that we came up with, since a lot of international students don't understand democracy and there's a cultural barrier. We would like to create a permanent position within SGA to where there would always be, they wouldn't be elected, it would be an appointed position for an international student, so their voice is always heard. And continue to be able to work with the non-traditional student, to where so there's a change in between how we're going from the non-traditional commuter student with the traditional student, so we can be able to combine both of them, be able to create a campus that's D1 friendly, to where there's more of a social environment that everybody would like.
Does anyone have a rebuttal for that?
Yeah, I'd like to clarify, there actually already is an international student representative position. It's under an ex officio position. It's the International Student Union representative. Based on the most popular international student organization, that's usually where the delegation comes from for that position. Jumping back to the average student at NKU is someone, by definition, who goes and parks on campus, goes to class from usually 10 to 2, and then leaves and goes to work for about 40 hours a week and barely has time to do their homework, and is probably on some form of financial aid as well. Our intention, if we're elected again, is to basically make their financial awareness more accessible to them. There's a lot of students who have an issue, specifically not with affording college, but with understanding how much money they're taking out through their loans and then paying those loans back afterward. In fact, there's a statistic. It was
30 seconds for a rebuttal.
okay.
Just to add on to that, for something that the international student representative, something that we haven't seen in a long time either, even though we do have that as part of our constitution. When elected, that's something that's going to be really pushed forward, and make sure that we fix our relationship between the international students and the student government, and make sure that the disconnect between that is long gone and make sure that they're represented.
I would like to ask Eric, who is our current representative? Because
We don't have a current representative.
Okay. The next question is for John Jose. Your platform says Jose and Castle passed a resolution in 2013 to promote school spirit and campus rebranding by Norsifying campus. What exactly does this mean, and what will it achieve for students?
First of all, I want to talk about how we got to write the Constitution. Since the beginning of the year, that was my personal goal for our committee, something that we want to fix. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes when you walk around campus, it seems like you get lost and you don't remember that you're at APU because of the lack of training, lack of school pride. I think that that made me push to write something like this. We work with Chris Cole, Public Relations of the university, and we try to ask what students can do, what we can ask for, what we can push for PR-wise. And he talked to us a lot about different ideas, and that's what's in the resolution. And Clayton and I actually wrote that. So
This resolution is very broad. It lists a lot of things, but this is more of a plan for rebranding, or not rebranding, but campus branding. I agree with John. I can go outside and, there's nothing NKU. We started this year with the student union Norse logos in the glass panels. This is kind of expanding that. Everything on this list was a list from students. It was not from us. We went out and talked to students. Some we knew, some we didn't. We're going to be honest about that. And so this was a resolution that is wanted, and we decided, let's go ahead and let's really Norsify campuses.
Okay, does anyone have a rebuttal for that? No? Next question. Eric, this next question is for you. Your platform mentions that you will advocate for Northern Kentucky University's budget cuts through participating in things such as the Rally for Higher Education. However, there was no NKU Rally for Higher Education this year under your SGA presidency. If you were to be reelected, is this something that you would follow through with it next year? And why do you want it to do next year if this year was skipped?
The interesting thing about the Rally for Higher Education is it's not strictly an SGA initiative. It's actually a Commonwealth initiative. All of the SGAs across the state plan a rally together, and when you're one vote of about 7 institutions for a rally against 6 others who aren't, then you don't exactly have the, you don't have the majority on your side to vote in favor of a rally. So the discussion was made through BSBP that next year, because it's a budget year, there would be a greater push and a larger turnout for rally than ever before. We've been talking about ideas such as hosting rallies on our campus, initially to get media press coverage to kind of build up the event, and then go down to Frankfurt sometime next February to go tell our legislators what exactly we need and why we can't stand for these budget cuts anymore. There was also the logic posed that if we are continuing to be cut money, why do we continue to take the money that's already dwindling and spend it on going down to Frankfurt to complain about why we don't have as much money? We should be taking that money, investing it in initiatives that we know are going to make a difference, and then capitalize on those ventures.
Does anyone have a rebuttal for that?
I do. On years that if BSP decided not to have a greater Commonwealth rally for higher education, understand saving money, but it would be fairly cheap, if not free, to be able to just host one on campus, like you said, but not just have it on the years that we'd actually just have one every single year, regardless if we had one down in Frankfurt or not.
Anyone else?
I would like to add something to that. The reason why we didn't have a rally this year is because, once again, it's another budget year. We're not going to there's no point spending $3,000, which is how much it costs for a rally, at minimum $3,000 to send people to Frankfurt when we're not going to get any money out of it. We might as well save our money, push it to next year, have a bigger rally than ever before, so that way we can get the money that we deserve as the student body. And to go off the international student thing for one last second, Amandra Bra was an international student in SGA. She dropped half of the semester, so that is why we don't have an international student representative. We've already had all these things everyone's mentioning, end report.
But to just add on to the rally, that's something that we're really pushing for, something that we want to push out to the students as early as possible, so students will be aware and that we will have a higher participation for next year. Because I think if you just prepare for it, I agree with Eric on the part where we didn't have a rally this year because of the money issues. But next year, I think if we start off early enough, I think there's going to be good participation on that, and that's something that the president needs to do, is to just advocate for it as much as possible.
One last thing, as far as the rally goes, one of the other issues as well is the planning of the rally. It's not like we can just take a busload of students, essentially book the foyer of the Capitol and just camp out, basically. You have to plan through the legislation and the event planner for the Capitol. So what happens then is when you start trying to coordinate these dates, they don't coordinate until like a month in advance. So you really only have a month's notice of when you're expected to go down to Frankfurt. So that's why there's this huge PR push every year for the rally, specifically, I guess around January 15th or so.
All right, thank you. One more.
I understand that it's really important to make sure that we have a presence down there, particularly on budget years. But even on off-budget years, it's very important. It's even shown that the agency bonds that we've gone down there and rallied, we've really pushed for several years. We were able to get it, even though it was not a budget year. So it goes to show you that there's some importance to always have a presence down in Frankfurt every year.
Thank you.
Abby Gross, you presented a resolution at today's SGA meeting recommending the creation of an LGBTQ center. What will this mean for the university, and why is representing minority groups a priority for you and your running partner?
I know that Chaz and I, if you guys are not aware, our motto is student driven. Everything we are trying to do, if elected with SGA, is to make to make SGA the liaison organization it's supposed to be. SGA is supposed to be, we basically want to bridge the disconnect between traditional and non-traditional students, and we feel like, well, I know that for me, the LGBTQ resolution is something that I'm passionate about after speaking with multiple students on campus, the health prevention services, and also our allied zone trainer. I know that there's a huge need for it. Also, our vice presidential candidates have mentioned it. It's just a huge need, and it's a big push. And I know that also President Mearns is very passionate about diversity at NKU. And so there's also been talk of, you know, what happens if this meets resistance with administration, this LGBTQ resolution. Then something that I want to pursue is the Diversity Center, and encompassing African American student affairs, Latino student affairs, and the LGBTQ community.
Does anyone have a rebuttal for that?
Yeah, actually, that's something that we put in our platform earlier, and I'm going to be honest with you. In the beginning, we thought it would be a better idea if there was a diversity center where we can put a lot of those groups in one specific area. But our slogan says keeping students first, and during our campaign and a lot of talks with a lot of different students, and we actually asked them if they think about this, there was concern about it. There was concern about the programming, the staff, the personnel, and all that stuff. And we've talked to African American Student Affairs, Latino Student Affairs, Common Ground, all these different organizations when we talked to them, and they didn't want to have something as big as a diversity center. Having an LGBTQ by itself will enhance the support of the services and programming for that kind of thing. And
one thing that was brought up as a possible kind of replacement would be instead of a diversity center, a diversity committee, which the SGA president would head up and would include a representative or two from each organization, the LGBTQ, the African American Student Affairs, the Latino Student Affairs, and the international students, where they would get together and they would basically talk about the programming and the services that this would provide.
I have a question. So, as far as a diversity committee, how would you publicize it? Will people that are new to campus just be able to come up to the committee and be like, hey, how can I get to know more about African American affairs, or how can I get to know more about Saudi Arabia?
that's something that you can do, but this is for the organizations that want to have a voice into student government that they usually can't. So this is something that we're just going to have a right to that concern, to that idea, and see what we can develop from there and help them out.
So there's no place for them to go?
What do you mean?
There's no center, there's no, there's just a committee?
There's already current centers that have already been established. There's already the African American Student Affairs, we're going to lead them to that office.
Common Ground has that?
No, because it's an organization. That's why we can put them in a committee where they can ask us questions, ask us what they need to do, or what they want to do, and see what their response is, and we can talk to the president about that. We can talk to the student government about that so that we can develop something to help them.
African American Student Affairs is also an organization, but they have their own office, so I can't.
The reason that we would push for a diversity inclusive office as a whole is because not every single international minority group on campus is represented. Yes, there are organizations available for these organizations, or I guess for these types of students, like Common Ground example for the LGBTQ community, among other things. There's no representative group for women. There's no representative group for religious minorities. There's no representative group for veterans. I mean, these are all minority groups that need representation and specific programming for them so that we can, as the students who are engaged, can better inculcate them into our campus life and bring them into the types of things that we're doing, while also becoming educated on the types of things that they're interested in and consider important to them.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna cut this one off. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Jose and Castle, what are your views on the recently passed tobacco-free policy, and what are your hopes for the implementation of the policy?
About the tobacco policy, we agree with the university about being going tobacco-free. I think that's something that we need to put in healthier lifestyle in this university. But with that, we need to emphasize that there should be a lot more smokers that are going to be part of that task force so that they can give their response or give their idea on how it's supposed to be done.
Is there another for that?
Yeah, for every single subcommittee and the advisory committee for the tobacco-free task force, there is at least one smoker, several smokers on every single committee, so there is that representation from that constituent group.
Anyone else? Okay. Peterson, what is upper division housing, and what will it mean for upper division students, and how do you think it would affect campus?
Upper division housing, by definition, is an opportunity where students who have 60+ credit hours and are of age have the opportunity to live on campus with a member of the opposite sex, potentially have alcohol in their rooms, and have the option to design their rooms and paint them and basically touch them up how they'd like to. As far as the effect on campus as a whole, this is very important, because if there are students that are juniors and seniors like myself that still live on campus, you need to start giving them a little leeway and a little experience for how and what it's like to live on their own and by themselves. That's why upper division housing is such a good idea, because if you have the opportunity where students who want to buy their own food from Kroger can cook it, can have an opposite sex roommate to kind of get that experience as a whole, or to understand what it means to responsibly consume alcohol, or to have that specific living environment where they're among peers who are in the same positions that they are. That in itself is an enhancement of the quality student experience that this university already has, and can only I guess expedite and augment that.
Is there a rebuttal for that? No? Okay. Chaz Edwards, your platform says you plan to increase the amount of availability of learning assistance programs within the university. Why is this important, and how will it be accomplished?
Because we're here to learn. I mean, it's, I think every single program that should be the most important thing is anything that has to do with education. That's the number one reason why I'm sitting here, why you all are sitting here. It's for education. And any program that we can help better to ensure that each one of us gets a better education, it should be the number one priority of SGA.
Okay. And can you rebuttal for that?
It says through specific resources. Can you clarify what those specific resources are and how you'd acquire them?
What do you mean by specific?
It says on your platform that you'd expand learning services through acquiring more resources. I'm curious.
So specific resources, or are you saying what centers that I want to?
No, how you get the resources. How you would expand those centers when there is already no money. Would you cut other departments? I'm just curious.
But you would go back to the same thing, if you want to talk about trying to expand centers that don't have funding. I mean, just the same thing with the diversity center that you kept pushing for. I mean, more and more inclusion. I mean, where it's the same thing to where everything costs money. My first priority is, since education is our first priority, I do think that we should look at other opportunities through the university's budgets to cut, to be able to make sure that education is the number one priority over any other organization that the university has.
Okay, so you cut other departments.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Because education is the number one most important thing, the reason why we're here.
Anyone else? Okay. John Jose, your platform addresses the current issue with state and federal funding, and says your solution to this issue to find new and creative ways to increase funding. What are some of the ideas you have for this? How will you put them into place, and how will they be effective?
Well, when we say that, we need guys go and make sure that we are advocating for our school in Frankfurt and other areas. I'm going to do my best when elected as president to make sure that everybody knows about, is informed about this problem that we have going on and how to move forward from them. I'm going to ask the students for creative solutions on that. It's not something that I'm going to have just a solution and say this is how we're going to do it. This is a collaborative issue where students have to meet up together and say what we have to suggest on this issue, and that's something that we want to pass on to our student senate and see what they think, and we move on from there. It's not something that we just want to have a plan and this is how we do it. I think that the student input is very important on this, and that's something that we're going to do.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have a rebuttal for that? Eric Peterson, this is for you. The university is working to become more green. How will you continue the Go Green initiative, and what does this mean to you, and why is it important?
The cool thing about the Go Green initiative is a lot of what's already going on, like more fuel efficient cars and other things like that, other environmental factors that are coming in. A lot of this is already taking place. One of the biggest battles that NKU is going to have as far as the Go Green initiative goes is because we are a predominantly commuter campus. About 2/16, so 1/8 of our students live on campus, so well, about 90% of them are commuters, which means that there's all that carbon exhaust and all of those things like that. There's actually proposals in place for more public transportation across the northern Kentucky area. I'm fully behind that specifically because it's very inexpensive and saves a lot of students money on gas. They're talking about expanding tank, expanding other methods of transportation so that there's not as many cars flooding campus and that there's more easier ways to get on campus and make sure that you can get to your classes on time and in an appropriate fashion.
Sarah Butterfield?
A little bit more. And even with the new rec center, I mean, even that is kind of, in a sense, going green kind of campaign, because it's going to be like over 50% glass. It's going to be more natural lighting, so spending less money on electricity, so saving money for us, but also making it more natural lighting, more kind of a go green atmosphere that we need as a university.
And every new building as well that we start building is LEED certified, which is environmentally efficient.
Abby, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I've heard that. I know that with President Mearns' campus beautification project, it's a very large budget for our university, and something that I could see SGA pushing for in the future are more Go Green initiatives with that budget, and kind of trying to persuade the administration to make NKU a more green campus.
Just to add on to something like that, that campus beautification project is actually something that during one of the president's convocation, we went there and Chris Cole says, because of your branding resolution, because of the things that you push for, somebody in the way listen, and that's what beautification project is, and that's something that we're proud of. So.
Anyone else? This question is for you. Your platform addresses the need for several changes to the student dining experience at NKU. Why do you deem these changes important? What is an example of one, and how will it work?
And that's one of the biggest complaints most students talk about. It's the dining services. Everyone struggles with the cost, or just the meal swap doesn't completely. I know it's gone up, but it still doesn't completely cover most the cost of most of the meals. One of the biggest things that I think is very interesting is that other universities have. It's a long-term goal of ours. It's an off-campus meal swipe, to where you'd be able to use that same meal swipe at Chipotle, Jimmy John's, wherever it may be at an off-campus location. It's something that we couldn't get done realistically in our administration, but it's something as we start advocating for it over time. When Chartwell's contract does come up, we can ensure that that's a part of it.
I was just going to add on and say that I know currently in SGA we passed a resolution to try to cover the entire cost of a meal, and also we're looking into extending the Einstein Bagel Brothers, their hours over the weekends, to try to start that, to see if students who are around on campus on weekends, if that's a good option for them. So that's something that I feel SGA will definitely pursue in the future.
One of my fellow committee chairs and I, Josh Tunney, who's sitting up here in the front row, he's had several meetings with Andy Meeks. I've had several meetings with Andy Meeks too about lobbying specifically for increased meal efficiency in the student union that you all have heard basically, but essentially we're going to be getting $6, which covers a full combo meal inside the student union at most restaurants. You get a meal swipe at Einstein's. Einstein's or Starbucks will be open on the weekends, and you'll get a meal swipe at Fresh Factor in the afternoon, as opposed to having to spend money at Outtakes. Secondly, for the dining expansion that's taking place this summer, our meals, basically our meal facilities are already going to be increased more toward our student experience. Actually, food is going to be cooked live in front of you in the new Norris Commons next year. Something to look forward to. No more heating lamps.
Something that we also want to work on when we get elected is a lot more weekend options. I know we got one with the thing that we just passed this semester, but we want to add on to that and make sure that students that are staying here over the weekend, make sure that instead of being a suitcase, we just make sure that they can stay, they have food. And that's something that's a big concern that we've been approached with, and something that we might fight for.
All right, thank you. That concludes our 4 questions. We're now going to open up this.
Technical difficulty.
I think it's because
Hey, we're back.
Oh, I know.
Right, so like, I think that's fine.
Hey, don't touch that panel.
We're gonna open the floor up now for student questions for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll finish up with the closing statements from the candidates. But the same rules apply. If you ask a question, whoever you ask it to has 2 minutes to answer, and then 30 seconds for rebuttal. So does anybody have any questions? Go ahead. Or if you have one, stand up. And then everyone, go ahead, yeah. Yeah, you're fine.
I guess this question was John and Clayton. I know you guys had said it first, but any other candidates who want to elaborate on it? I know you all had talked about branding kind of on campus, sort of having the NKU logo and stuff about campus, and which is great. I like to see a lot of that out on campus, but one thing I'm wondering about is do any of you have a plan to get the campus brand outside of just campus? I mean, I can go to Champ Sports in Florence and see UC, UK. I can go to Kenwood, see UC, UK, stuff like that. There's never NKU stuff.
Great question, by the way. That's something that we brought up with Chris Cole when we met with him. How can we engage the community as students to make sure that the branding is out there for the university? Because it kind of sucks when you're the local team, but then still the local team is still either UK or UC or U of L, which is unfair. But also you got to take into effect that we're still young as a university, and that's going to develop over time. But the biggest suggestion that Chris Cole told me was, when you go out to those community stores that doesn't have any NKU apparel or anything, which really makes me upset because you get more stuff. But what you have to do is you just have to keep asking for that. And I think as student government, that's something that we can send out mail or meet the business owners and say, is there any way that you can add more Norse gear around here and make it for that students would come to you? So that's something that we want to do.
Is there a rebuttal for that?
Branding is all about creating an atmosphere, I think. And what's been great about this year, for anybody that doesn't know, NKU actually had the highest average attendance per basketball game out of every other team in the conference, including Florida Gulf Coast University. That is taking some serious butt in the NCAA tournament right now. So kudos to them because we compete with them very well. But it's all about creating an atmosphere, and what's great is branding is happening all around us in front of our very eyes right now, and we, the students right now, are the pioneers of that. We're seeing the benefits, and our children are going to be seeing that benefit too.
Anyone else?
Something that I could see, like Chaz and I said, we don't believe in promising you something that's too far-fetched that we can't bring to fruition. We do our Norse nights through SGA, and what that is you take, if you go to Subway or J Gumbo's and you say, hey, I'm an NKU student, show them your all card, you get a discount. Well, something small that could eventually make a bigger effect for our wanting to go to a D1 university is actually, giving them some NKU pom-poms or whatever spirit where it is, and maybe like Applebee's, they could hang it up in the restaurants, and eventually maybe the community will pick up on that, and then we can branch from there.
I'd like to deal with that. It's one thing nobody's ever thought about doing or partnering with is the city government locally. I know there's an NKU grad student that's currently sitting on city council, seeing that NKU is essentially almost turning into the city itself. It seems like we're going to end up owning most of it. We are the city, and we have to work with them to be able to have some of the city streets to be able to have maybe some type of NKU banner along them. I know some of the other major universities, you can go up and down the city streets and they have some type of logo or UK symbol somewhere in the streets. I mean, if we can work with our local governments, and that's free, we don't have to go anywhere, it's just right here in town, to be able to accomplish some of those things, it might be able to be a really successful partnership.
Thanks. Next question.
This is for all the candidates. What sets you apart?
I'll go ahead and answer that first. That's something that I'm really proud of. Something that sets me apart from this is something that I'm really passionate about, something that I've thrown my life into. Student government is big for me because it's taught me a lot of lessons that life couldn't have. And I have the desire to leave this place better than the way I found it. And I think that when you have an opportunity to go ask the student and ask for their input and for their inclusion, I think that means a lot to the student body, because that means that their school actually cares for them. And that's something that we want to do as an administration.
I'll go for us. So what sets us apart is really already being here. We've already spent a year on eBoard, already seen a year of different initiatives go through SGA, starting, with a new meal plan, seeing the beginning of rec center forming, starting the town halls, all these new things that we could continue to build upon next year, so that someone new doesn't come in and start from scratch, have to erase everything and start again. And also, is our youth. I plan to continue to stay in SGA farther on for the next 2 years if I get elected this next year, if not 3 if I am a super senior, who knows. But whatever we start this year, we can continue on the next year and the year following. It doesn't have to stop with the next candidate because they're going to be graduating. It can continue going, because I'm just a sophomore. If you elect me, I'll be a junior next year. Then I'll be a senior next year, the following year. And so whatever we start this year, whatever initiatives we push this year, we'll push again the next year and the following year. And we'll bring in new initiatives. So whatever we push this next year won't be forgotten. It'll be brought in the following year.
And also, I've had the opportunity to do this once already. I'm technically an incumbent. And so what that allows me to do, it basically gives me a leg up because I don't have a learning curve for this anymore. I don't have to spend X number of hours and days and a portion of the year figuring out who does what, who's in charge of what, and how to successfully go about trying to do a specific goal or initiative. I know where to go, I know how to have the conversation because I've been doing it for a year, and I know how to successfully lobby for the students as far as specific issues and initiatives that they want to see take place.
Popping down. Basically, guys, my motto of leadership is in order to be a leader, you must first learn to follow, and I feel like I've truly done this. I was appointed to SGA my freshman year, and I'm currently a senior, and I will be here for a full another year finishing my degrees. I just feel like I'm the best candidate for this position. If I didn't truly believe that and didn't think I could commit myself 110%, for those of you who know me, you know I'm very committed to my future at the hospital, and I've actually completely cut my hours to pursue this. So like I said, I would be 110% committed if you chose to elect Chas and I.
To go off that, a lot of us do have similar ideas and goals that we'd like to be able to accomplish, and that's because it's obvious what the students want. We all have similar things and what we all expect out of SGA. It's just how we all choose to go about doing things. Our biggest thing is, like I said from the very beginning, we're here for the students. We want to partner with the administration. It's very important because we have to work as a team, but at the same time, we don't work for the administration. We work for you all. That's the job. If we are elected, we are here to work for the students and solely for the students. And we don't want to concentrate, like I said at the beginning, we don't want to concentrate our time spending our time on things that the university is already doing. We're here for you all, and that's it.
And just to add on to something like that real fast, experience is something that we all also have. I don't think that what also sets us apart is how much we're going to bring a lot of innovation, a lot more motivation to this next year. I think that for the past few years we've had the same kind of leadership, and I think it's going in a different direction than it really is. Because I think student government should be just a bridge between the students and the administration, and that's what we're trying to do.
Next one.
If I may add on to that. Back to our experience, one of our biggest platform points is motivating the Senate. And the Senate, we want to maximize the Senate experience so that they can better produce for the students. And our experience together, we have 5 years of Senate experience. And we believe with that experience, we know how to motivate the Senate and how to get them to produce the best results for the students.
Thank you.
Next question. Question over here. My question is for John in regards to the Diversity Center, more specifically the LGBTQ Center. You said that the certain organizations such as like the Talking Round have concerns with having that kind of center. Can you name kind of what specifically their concerns were?
A lot of their concerns were at first when they meant that it was an LGBTQ center, they thought that it was going to be something just as a lounge area. But we emphasized to them that this center would be a lot more for support services or programming and that kind of aspect, making sure that they have a place to go to if they need any help, or some people that are not open to it and want to ask questions about it. That's basically what we told them.
Next question. Excuse me. At some point throughout all of your campaigning on all departments, for all of you have said either the leadership or the Senate or both have become complacent. What is your idea of how you're going to solve that if elected?
To me, first of all, I think that the Senate is motivated. They know what's going on. I think that that's, you know, being from the very bottom of the totem pole, my freshman year, I had no idea what a senator really did, besides, you know, advocate for different issues and stuff. But I think if the board is more transparent to the Senate about the things that are going to happen in the future, then they'd be more involved in something like writing resolutions or joining other committees and that kind of stuff.
Does anyone have a rebuttal to that?
Well, honestly, we're not complacent. People said, well, last semester was so much stronger, last semester was so much better, you had so many more resolutions passed last semester, but what happened this semester? If you look at statistics, we had 5 resolutions passed last semester. So far, I mean, we had 6 last semester, so far we've had 5 this semester, there's at least 3 or 4 more coming. So that'll be a total of at least 15 resolutions passed 1 year, which is pretty awesome. It's no like 24 that Dustin Robinson had his year, but the thing is we're focusing on making our resolutions as best as possibly can. And so we're not focusing on numbers as we are on quality. So we have not been complacent. We have continued to strive to be the best. We're starting new things like town halls. We are pushing forward with new ideas and new plans.
And the thing about it is half of these things that you are pushing for don't need resolutions. For example, all I had to do was go to Provost Wells, ask her to open the library until 2 a.m. through midterm week. And now the library is open until 2 a.m. during midterm week. So a lot of it is just having the conversations with the right people.
I was just going to say, when you guys are electing whoever you choose to elect, you will also be voting on our changes to the Constitution that SGA has come up with. And something I wanted to mention about this that relates to this, currently our Vice President is responsible for kind of training our senators on the summer retreat, and also if we have to appoint anyone coming in throughout the semester. But what we changed is that it will be the legislative liaison's job to do this. So what I think SGA can do to reduce complacency is actually work on how they communicate. So I think we need to make sure we appoint the right person to be the legislative liaison who will be overseeing all of our senators.
I have a question is, when did this conversation with Provost Wells happen? Because I believe most of my sophomore year I sat on the University Library Advisory Committee where I set up a meeting with the director of the University Library and showed him where other state universities had similar library hours during finals, the week before finals and finals week, and asked him about possibly having it here. When he told me we'd had it previously several years earlier, but it wasn't successful, but he was willing to try it again, and since then I've seen it open every single semester, the week before finals, and it's now started to be open during midterms.
So what's your question? Are you asking
When
did I have the conversation?
Yeah, because my impression of it was that was one of my big accomplishments that I was very proud of my sophomore year when I initially made that request, and I was curious as to when.
Oh, I asked Provost Wells the day before the November board meeting.
But it had already been accomplished my sophomore year?
No, it had already been accomplished.
I've been going to the
library is open until 2 a.m. during midterm weeks now because I had a conversation with
So the
Provost
midterm
Wells
week, so it was, okay, I thought you just said that it was just open until 2 a.m., so, okay. So my sophomore year, I started with the week before finals, and then you asked her about midterms.
Yes, it was an addition, not trying to take your recognition.
Okay,
Next question?
Yeah, one more question.
Peter, this one for you. It's kind of a quick two-part question. Is the upper division housing on your platform this year?
It was on our platform, mine and Alan's platform last year, and
Okay.
then it's in the process of taking place, and then we're following up on it again
Okay.
this year.
And I wish we would have. This would have been touched on more while you all were talking about it. But can you tell me like the progress you've already made on that, and what you actually plan on doing to make that, or to attempt to make that happen?
Well, what's probably going to happen is the property next to Callahan will likely be purchased, which is Lakeside, and there's discussions being had about making that an upper division housing location, and that makes it really easy because that venue's already empty. And so all you do then is you take students who are of age and have the proper credentials that I specified earlier, and if they are interested in moving in, you're more than welcome to. And then they start I guess it's a testing phase where they start implementing specific policies that I described earlier about upper division housing to see how successful they are and to ensure that there are no issues.
Does anyone have a rebuttal to that?
All right,
Now we're going to finish up with our closing statements. So John Jose, we'll start with you, and you have 3 minutes, both of you guys.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for everybody coming out tonight. This has been very informational. Second of all, we also want to thank these candidates because there's a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that goes through the campaign, and all for it is just for one vote. And that's something that we really emphasize is, you know, I'm sure that we're the same way, but no matter who you vote for, make sure that when you vote for it, it's because it's the right way. It's, you know, represents what your need is and what the students need. And like I said, our biggest thing that separates us the most is we really want student input and student government, because that's the biggest disconnect. How are we supposed to represent the people that we're supposed to represent to, and we don't know what they actually want? And that's something that we really want to emphasize on when elected. So thank you, and just make sure to tell everybody to vote on Wednesday and Thursday. And if you see us, you know, in a bad mood, just say hi and make us smile, because we're all going to be stressed those next 2 weeks. So thank you, and I think that's the message.
I would also like to thank the Northerner for hosting this event and the other candidates. It's been a very pleasing feeling knowing that this has been a smooth campaign, nothing too rough, and we're all friends up here, so that's what is a plus. John and I are running because we're here for the students. We're keeping students first, and I would not have ran with John if I didn't believe that he or I could do the job of president and vice president of the student body. We believe that we are the best candidates, and but again, no matter who you vote for, just make sure you vote for the right candidate. Thank you.
I would second what John said. I don't think I can say it any better. A lot of candidates, all of us, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of money into this too. Buying those shirts aren't cheap, and it looks like everybody has a constituent shirt on. So I would wager that we all spent probably at least $300 on those shirts. But it's a huge financial obligation, so make sure that you take the responsibility to come out and cast your vote on who you think is going to best represent you and be your best liaison to the administration, on behalf of the BSBP as well, toward our legislators down in Frankfurt, and toward every other constituent group on campus that needs to be reached out to. Thank you all for hosting this. I love doing this stuff. It's a lot of fun to hear what everybody else has to say, to hear your concerns, because this is how we get our motivation. This is how we get our ideas for next year's hearing, what you all have to say about it. And I don't think there's any better setting than this than to kind of get those types of ideas as a whole. So thank you all to the audience as well for coming out and becoming engaged students with some of the issues that are touching higher ed today.
Is it okay if I stand up?
Yep, go for it.
I'm a theater major. I can't answer this if you want. So basically right here in front of me is all 3 of our platforms. And if you look at each individual one, they all pretty much say the same thing, more or less. There's a few different words, more fancier wording, different logos, but they're all the same stuff, because it's all the same issues, and we're all facing the same issues, the same kind of ideas. They're the same things that we're trying to fight for. But it's up to you to decide who you want, who you think will make the best leader, who you think will make the best impact next year. You want a new face, or you want someone who's been in it this past year and will keep fighting the same things we've been fighting for this year and go on to next year.
And off of what David said, thank you all for allowing me to serve in this capacity as the SGA president this past year. This has truly been one of the most rewarding, fun, and interesting experiences of my life as a whole. And I don't think there's any greater way to put it than it's been a heck of a time serving you all. And I want to thank you all for allowing me that opportunity. That's obviously why I'm up here, and that's why I want to do it again, because it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I believe in doing. And the last thing I want to say is come out on Wednesday and Thursday. Like I said earlier, cast your vote. Make sure it's for who you want to represent you. And if you cast it for me and David, we can start shaping tomorrow together today.
Thank you.
Alright guys, so I like to joke and consider myself the grandma of SGA. I've been around a while, I've seen a lot of things. I've also gotten to work with our other candidates. They all have great strengths to offer you. However, something that separates myself and Chaz that I think you need to consider is I think we're a very good balance. I myself am very involved on campus. I have no problem going up to students, speaking to them at their meetings. Chaz and I have proved this by reaching out to every organization on campus, so that's over 200 when we started this process. And then he over here is representing the Frankfurt side. He has those relationships down in Frankfurt, and he can go and fight for our funding. So I think we're a good balanced team, and we'd support your vote. Or we'd appreciate your vote, excuse me. Grandma.
Yeah, like she said, I mean, we are a really good balanced team. I mean, combined experience SGA-wise, we're all the same. With us, she's so strong in that aspect, where I'm not the strongest, but I have a lot of unique experience down in Frankfurt. That's where I'm originally from. That's where I had my first internship, and through that I saw the importance of civic engagement, and I continued that philosophy up into my rising senior year. I've continued to have internships with the business community up here and down in Frankfurt, and working with the Office of Government Community. It's been a long time we've been talking. With the Office of Government Community Relations, it developed a lot of relationships down there, personal contacts, where it's no longer just walking down there asking for funding just randomly here and there. I can go down there and have a lunch with several state leaders to be able to ask for, to be able to lobby a little bit more efficiently than just this random face that comes in here and there.
All right, thank you guys. That will conclude the debate. I thank you all for coming out today, and I hope that you will all vote. And now you have a much better idea of who you're going to choose.